anything like a silence, like maybe if you saw an Alice okay, so Anivia was already good and got
Anivia's back, and we've had some crazy games going on in the Swiss stage for the World's 25 event going on. Today I'm joined with Justin, Davis, and Dylan from Into the Smoke. How are y'all doing today?
Good. The birds are out, baby.
Birds are out.
Cagel's amazing.
We always get some good content, but we're finally getting to Anivia is back for at least one game. But I want to jump into a different section real quick. We have a lot of skins coming out. Winter Blessed series has been rumored. We've had the Floral Fatale skins coming out with the last patch. We have the new Zoe skin that's coming out, but I want to know what everyone's favorite or go-to skin is here.
Okay.
Dylan?
I think mine is going to be Scuba Gragas. The reason is I played way back in the day. Most of my skins got vaulted. And if you look here, the skin looks terrible. Actually.
Oh, God.
We pulled that from the old school days.
This has got to be like a 2010, 2011 skin. But this was from the original vault thing. They unlocked the vault, which literally is why I quit playing League, because I'd spent so much money on skins, and then they now brought every cool collector's item I had out. So I just had to go with one of those.
We'll go with Justin next.
All right. Well, I love that Dylan had an old one. Mine's also kind of old. I've got Dunk Master. Wait, what's it? Dunk Master Ivern, is that the actual name of this skin? Yes, Dunk Master Ivern. It's my favorite skin. Ivern is one of my favorite characters to play in the jungle, and I love this skin. One, because it's dope. He's got some insane voice lines, but it's also like my other favorite skins are for characters like Aurelion Sol, who just have amazing base designs. So the skins are just already awesome, but like Ivern's just a tree and Daisy's just a thing. So I love this one. And also you see Dunk Master Darius, they're getting crammed on, which is also, that's a great skin too. So heck yeah.
I went with Choo Choo Ornn. Ornn is actually not a player or a champion that I play ever, but every time I see it, I love it. With his ult that turns into the train and just hits you. This is a great skin.
Shout out Captain Flowers, the Captain Flowers skin.
Yeah, that's great. So mine, of course, to no one's surprise, is the Prestige Battle Bunny Admiral Misfortune. No way.
I definitely could have predicted that. Literally, I was thinking about like, could I guess everybody's skins? And I was like, I know I'll get yours, and no chance I know either of yours.
Yeah, because I definitely use this with TFT as well. That's how much I like this skin. It's great though. I like the UI when you do the bullet time though, because you get the little everything on the side of it, so it looks pretty cool with that one. I was kind of considering going with the sneaky Sivir skin, the pizza Sivir, but I don't use that one enough to warrant it as my favorite. But we have some great skins coming out. You want to check those out that have been just released recently, and we have the Elite Series getting a new pretty cool legendary skin. Hopefully, I might have to buy into that one a little bit. But
I was also talking with one of our Pride guys, CJ. He wanted to chime in and say his favorite skin is the Battle Cash Cho'Gath skin. He's the best.
That's a good one.
Best Cho'Gath player in the office, man. And
great choice.
Yeah, he's got good taste.
Definitely is. Gentleman Cho'Gath would be my go-to, just because of the voice lines.
I'm also surprised nobody went with Pool Party, because I feel like the Pool Party skins, like, I don't know, they're just fun.
They are.
I would have said that if they kept Graves as an AD carry. If they kept AD carry Graves back when I got that skin, I maybe would have said that, but they put him in jungle, so I can't care about that anymore.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
But the curb.
Let's go ahead and jump back into Worlds here. As last week, we did go over our round 3 high games, so we're going to go ahead and jump into our round 3 mid games, which was just pretty much pure chaos at this point. We had T1, FlyQuest, G2 all in the ropes there to play off their games, and we're going to go ahead and just start off, and I believe the first game of that week was FlyQuest versus, G2 versus Koi on that one, so we had the interregional match between those. Oh, sorry, actually G2 versus BLG. Yep, sorry. And that one, of course, BLG continuing their slump against these teams. They lost to 100 Thieves in the 0-0 in that first round. Now they're losing to G2. G2 on the rise, though, but I mean, again, they put in Shadow for this game, so they can't blame it on the jungler here.
No, they can't. And I'll be honest, I think we, on this show, might have counter-cursed G2 into a win. They were at their low point coming into this match, and we were really ragging on them last week, but then they came out. They picked that Caps and Nivea with the Poppy, just a crazy little combination to pull out there, and was able to get them the win. They looked really good, and that was the start of a big comeback for G2 in this tournament.
Nope, getting ulti, no,
100%. Really surprising here. I mean, I was one of the people that was ragging on them so much last week. G2 not being able to I didn't think they would perform in this match for sure, and then they showed up. The real difference for me, though, was like Ben for BLG. He was just kind of irrelevant in the game, and like Broken Blade didn't play that crazily good. It was just like Ben couldn't really find any momentum at all, and he was a big body with Cassante in that first game, but other than that, he just didn't really offer anything.
I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later too, but like this whole event, I mean, BLG has just looked like a shell of themselves. I mean, the factor that they're a 1 seed of one of the most dominant regions in the world, they're struggling to play the 3 and 4 seeds of the worst regions in the world.
Yeah, this has been the classic Chinese team comes to Worlds and bombs out. Technically, they're not out of the tournament yet, so that was a big push. They wasn't a team to fall to the wayside in play-ins or anything. But BLG's definitely been struggling. They've been limping through all their matches. There's a lot of criticism of this team from their domestic fans and stuff. I think the pressure's really building up.
Yeah. At one point, I was thinking about making the meme of the Scooby-Doo where they take off the mask and it was like BLG to start, but then they pull it off and it's TES. But then at that point, TES had been doing a little bit better, but maybe now it would have been a little more relevant. But it's just one of the things that I thought they would switch to Shadow, play Shadow as a remainder, and that they would, start to do as we saw them in the LPL, especially towards the grand finals. But it did not look good for them. But that leads us kind of coming into our second one, where we have the fated matchup, it seems, as for this year, with Gen.G versus T1. And this is just pretty much the worst performance I've seen T1 against Gen.G for this whole entire year so far.
Yeah, they were dominated. And for me, the big difference was in the mid lane with Chovy versus Faker. Chovy kind of completely took over, especially this game when you see here on the Orianna. But really the whole series, he kind of just took over the game. And Gen.G had started off a little bit slow, and his mission was to show that they're back and they can do it.
Yeah, I think the Ori versus the Aurora was definitely just a complete stomp. That's kind of the nightmare scenario for that Aurora mid lane that we see. Sometimes that character, the best players can make it work, but I swear most of the time, it does not deliver the same consistency. I mean, I guess when you're comparing the consistency of an Orianna to a burst mage like Aurora, it's hard comparison 1-to-1, but it was definitely a team, but also clearly mid lane.
To me, it feels weird because, right now you're at a spot where obviously Faker is going to go down as probably the greatest mid laner ever, but, he's literally not playing mid lane. He's just basically saying, let me get to team fights and I'll try to carry us in team fights. But it's you cannot do that against the current best mid laner in the world. It's you're getting just railed for 10 minutes. Then you try to win a team fight when you're down 3 levels. It's this isn't going to happen.
And this red side draft just doesn't feel good. You're picking a dive comp and you're leaving Poppy open. Sion has been completely dominating most of the matches in round 1 and round 2 going in. I just don't see how we get in there, how you allow Gumayushi to stay alive during all this, because he's playing on that Kai'Sa. You're supposed to want to get in on that champion, blow someone up. Who do you blow up on that team? You have the Orianna, who's been going Seraph's Embrace into Rod of Ages, super tanky. At that point, you're just kind of cooked that there.
Yeah, and Corky too, being the ADC in the backline.
Right.
If you dive on him, he can just W away and create space again. It's kind of cooked from the start.
Pretty much the tankiest AD carry. I also think the comp, maybe you see it come together better if Doran on that Mbessa was a little bit more established in the game. If there was a second threat to that backline, if Mbessa goes in and takes all that pressure, then maybe Guma can find the way in. But it was on all sides of things a struggle.
It was. But to round up the round 1 and 1, FlyQuest did get their win against Team Secret well, so luckily they're taking that on. That kind of led us into the lower matches, though, after that, and we did have the first interregional match between the See Who Goes Home for Europe, Koi versus Fnatic. Unfortunately, Fnatic just couldn't really pull it out. We were kind of riding on Poby to see how well he does, but JoJo took it home for everyone.
Yeah, JoJo and Elyoya as well. I think Jungle was a masterclass. This did go 3 games, but that game 2 was a little bit of a blip on the radar. I think Koi's definitely the better team, and we're already now hearing news about some Fnatic roster updates. They're letting go of Mickey X and stuff, so it'll be a rebuilding season for this team.
It definitely will.
Kind of weird to see too. Fnatic been a giant of EU for a while now, but like you said, coming into this event, it was kind of clear the separation between G2 and Koi to Fnatic, in my opinion.
It just looks like they're all this matchup, and then also BLG's matchup today just felt like you're just watching slop play. And there's no hate to Koi either. It's just there's no part of it where it's I think these teams can actually compete for Worlds. It's they got in, good for them, but then let's reevaluate everything in the offseason.
Yeah, so last match, LTA though, because we're going to keep LTA for right now. Not quite in CBS and CBLOL yet, but Vivo Keystars did take the win versus PSG Talon, so really great there for them to at least get that win, show that they did have something left in the tank.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think they looked solid right there. I wasn't sure what to think of this PSG Talon coming into this match. They had played 2 really strong teams beforehand, so I was like, who knows? I mean, they could be good and just got bad draw, but then they came into this match. They really didn't look good, and considering the names that this team has, I expect the Maple Karsa Betty team to be able to handle a team like this, but.
And they had some decent moments in their first 2 games. They did lose both of them, but they had moments. I think it was Gen.G where they were ahead a little bit in the gold lead. So it's they showed moments where they like could maybe grasp onto a lead and push it forward. Against VKS, you think they could possibly upset them, but VKS dominate.
Definitely. Dominate, yeah.
Advance.
Yeah. So we move on to round 4 now. So everything is promotion relegation from this point on. We finally get all our best of 3s throughout the rest of this round. Starting off, though, we did have HLE versus CFO. CFO, once again, on the cusp of trying to make it. But this HLE team is finally starting to show up here.
Yeah, 100%. HLE has looked much improved from what they were in the split 3 of the LCK. But I was kind of disappointed. I thought CFO, with the performance that they put up against T1, which obviously was a best of 1 and coming into a best of 3 series here, much different. But I expected a little bit more, and they had their moments to win these games. Obviously, it was the game 2 is the one that I'm really looking at. They had a fight near Dragon where Caitlyn on the Viper was on Caitlyn. He was able to get 3 kills, and from that moment on, the game just kind of was taken over by HLE. But they could have won game 2. Game 1 was kind of...
In both these games, I was really questioning what the CFO strategy was. I think Viper versus Doggo is going to be the key to that game. And then I look at what the situations they put Doggo in. In game 1, they're playing Ezreal Nami. And in game 2, they're playing Ziggs and Leona, which Ziggs and Leona is a great bot lane to pair with, but I want Doggo on a carry that he's going to get 7 kills. He's going to be ripping pentakills and stuff, not playing these 2 spots. So I think they got drafted into kind of a corner. I mean, Viper got Yunara and Caitlyn, which are those are great characters.
Good for him. Yeah. And definitely, though, Zeka has definitely stepped up really big so far, at least in this round number 4. He had been kind of a little bit questionable throughout the LCK Season 3, stepped up a lot during, the later half of the run into the grand finals. Of course, when you're up against Chovy, you don't always look the best, but here, he looked really good.
Yeah, and on 2 control mages, too.
Yep.
Yeah, and he got his Azir pick right here. He managed to get like 3 kills early, and if Azir gets that early lead, it's kind of cooked from that point on. Like, he was just able to take over the game. So right here you see he's 7-1 at this point in the game. It's 22 minutes, and he's got 10 kill participation. So he's like ridiculously strong.
Yeah, and I love this considering, this is an assassin player, and we're seeing assassins being picked, but he's going with what the team needs.
It's also interesting, too, because, like, it just feels like the current plan of the Koreans is, like, not as focused on kill potential, but, like, they're just min-maxing the objective, like, so dominantly. It's like every time Autocon comes up, every Dragon that comes up, every time for Void Grubs, it's like they just know the prioritization so well, and, like, it just feels like teams like CFO are just getting really exploited.
It's actually really funny that you say that, because I actually saw today that all 4 Korean teams have the highest kills throughout the season, and it's like leading up after that, number 5 is AL right after. So it's really funny how they've actually really stepped up, and especially we'll talk about a little bit later, but one of the games today was just like a bloodbath between 2 teams, but I don't know. If they're going to be playing like this, it's going to be hard-pressed to beat any of the Korean teams.
It's also, if they keep pushing for Soul Point and Elder, it's like you're going to be so loaded late game, like you're acing them every time. So it's like basically every game you win is almost a 5-0 at the end.
Which is actually how I see most of the games going, is teams are pretty close with them, these Korean teams in the beginning of the game, and then once they start pushing those objectives, they force you to fight at bad times when you're just going to get aced. And you go from being 4 kills up to 13 kills down in the span of 7 minutes.
Yeah, so quick.
That's exactly what happened in this game, too, with CFO. They had literally, in game 1, it was an Otacon fight that completely flipped the game bad. Game 2, it was a Dragon fight, and it was just like HLE just knew when to fight, knew how to press their advantage, and took over the game.
Yep. Well, now we're going to talk about the most tragic thing that's ever happened in the history of ever, with FlyQuest losing to G2. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say. So G2, I actually
this was a big opportunity for both teams involved. This G2 versus FlyQuest match.
As you said, we kind of cursed them from last week, talking about as much as we did. I mean, G2 has been looking a lot better. FlyQuest has seemed to take a real dip, especially in drafting wise, in my opinion, going into this. But I mean, game 1, they looked really controlled of what we like to see from FlyQuest. They played their pace for the game. It looked really good going into it. And then we go into game 2, we see the Rumble coming out. And I think that kind of shook fear into a lot of LTA fans. Maybe it could have gone well, but man, G2 just controlled that game.
It was also such a weird vibe going into it because, like, beforehand, the casters and everybody's talking about, like, G2 hasn't beat NA in a series since 2019. It's been 6 years. NA is dominant. 3-0 this year. Like, they have everything stacked in favor. To win the first game, FlyQuest is 33-0 when winning the first game in a series this year. And then it's like, from that statement forward, it was the literal inverse of
it wasn't us, it was the actual caster.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you know that the EU casters, we had been holding that NRG win over their head for so long. As soon as we got the chance, they were going to throw it back in our faces. And I mean, I think they were right to put that because, I mean, I thought going into game 2, it was a wrap. Inspired looked like he was He was comfortable in the series. He was making plays. And when Inspired is making plays, this FlyQuest team could beat anybody. So I don't know. Once it got into game 2, I think it was rough. Busio looked really good this whole series. I thought the Soraka in game 2 was a pivot from what the team needs from him, but still his individual play looked really solid.
It did.
Yeah.
It felt to me like game 1 was like, hey, let's bully Caps. That was a very effective strategy. But then like games 2 and 3, it was like they had 2 Baron pushes in game 3. But then other than that, it was effectively like, hey, we're just going to wait. And then the whole second game, they waited. Nothing happened. They got smoked off the map. And then game 2, it's like they just sat and waited the whole time. They did sneak the 2 Barons, and it's like you get a blip of hope. But it's like at that point, you just want FlyQuest, like push the objective. You're up 1-0, like take risk. Like you have to close this out. And it's like they just couldn't close the door.
Yeah. Game 3 was interesting with like the both tank junglers. You had the Dr. Mundo for Skumon and the Sejuani for Inspired. It seemed like G2 was much more comfortable playing that style. Like I just didn't feel good seeing come towards the end of the game. Like Inspired was like 0-0 and 8 as they're losing their base and stuff. Like that's not what we want.
No.
But Skumon looked really good.
Skumon looked very, very improved. And I remember back us talking about him us talking about him at MSI as being one of their worst players, and he's really rose to the occasion throughout the back end of the season. He's one of their best.
Yeah, definitely someone you want to come up. But I mean, I was still thinking about it, and we see that game 1, them playing patiently and winning out, and then that impatient kind of ruled into the factor where I can't remember if it was soul point or not for G2 at that moment. But when Whippo did face check as the Renekton into that bush that was blind because it did have the control ward in it, they just go in, instantly blow him up. He has to pop the dominance, super early, but at that point he's already half health, and it just kind of ruins it because at that point, the Azir had been ramping up and it was actually melting the Mundo, but it just couldn't. When you lose that one person that quick and then you're not able to follow up on all the, good follow-ups that they had afterwards, it just wasn't the best. And I felt like if they had played just a little more patient, kind of found a way to get into that team fight, they would have been fine. Maybe even dropping, the Drake Soul if needed, but oof, that was a rough.
Yeah, I also didn't like this Jhin in game 3 with the big tanks that we're talking about, Skumon, Mundo.
Blown up.
I'm a Jhin hater, man. I'm gonna keep preaching on it. Jhin and Aurora, those champs. They are so meh.
I mean, not only do you have to deal with that getting blown up, but it's also like they were just so hesitant in game 3. Like there was an opportunity with the Void Grubs. They had the perfect opportunity to get it. They backed out. They had a perfect opportunity to get the Rift Herald. They backed out. They had a free dragon on an objective trade they backed out of. And then you get to the point where the Renekton's face checking stuff. It's like you have to all in, and like you just needed those moments where they needed to close it out. And like G2, I don't even like, no offense to them, it doesn't even feel like they won. It was just like FlyQuest just didn't want to. Like they just sat back, waited, and then G2 was like, I guess we'll just take the Nexus now. Cool.
I think they were playing so hard for the Azir scale, like just waiting back, and they didn't want to throw too much of a lead because they didn't have the damage early on. Because like you were saying, they have Jhin as their ADC, who's in a lot of these fights, I mean, he's got 4 shots, maybe a little bit more plus his ult, but he just was never to a point where he was doing serious damage. And Azir did get to that point, but by that time, Renekton had already fallen off with his damage. He was a little bit squishy with their comp as well. He was kind of getting popped by the Varus, so I don't know. I don't like the comp either, to be honest.
Well, at least they have one day to fix it, I guess. A couple hours since they play tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we move on. Gen.G versus TES, and, well, that was a SmackDown as well going into that one. A nice 2-0 for Gen.G. They looked really good, especially Ruler. I mean, Ruler is right now the only person that I think is playing this Lucian well at Worlds.
Yeah, I love it with the Braum. I'm glad we're not seeing Lucian Nami anymore. This is a more appropriate pairing for my eyes to watch, but Ruler does look good on it. I'm pretty sure he was 8-1 in both these games. So it's just a beast. And I'm so unsure of what to think of this team. Sometimes they look really good. Sometimes they're close like this, but they couldn't handle Gen.G.
It also felt like for the first time that like Sign just felt like he'd been bullying everybody, and in this one he was like the most irrelevant.
Very mobile team from Gen.G. The Vi, the Rek'Sai, and then that Lucian we were talking about.
Yeah, definitely really good for them. And I mean, this is the Gen.G that we were expecting, not the Gen.G we expected to come into this, having to be 2-1 and make their way into it, which I'm pretty scared everyone's bracket. I know definitely messed up all our pick'ems here in the office. They do get the 2-0 win though, or the 2-0 win that moves them on into that next round for the knockouts. Following up on that was Koi versus Team Secret Whales. Team Secret Whales put up a good fight, but not enough. I think we had the 2-1 series. So Team Secret Whales coming out with that first win was actually really hype when I was like rewatching that video. It was a really good game for them. Just can't capitalize on it though.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the early morning games, so I was not particularly awake for the Secret Whales victory in game number 1, but it seemed like it was just an insane Unara pop-off. I mean, 43,000 damage is unreal.
100%. I didn't see much of it either, but sitting here looking at this chart, it's actually insane. He like doubles everybody's damage. So it's like, I mean, they have Galio, Jarvan, and Sion. You guys get on the front line. Unara, do all the damage from the back.
Just wait for her to ramp up so she can turn on that Q and then pops the ultimate occasionally to get the extra damage and some of the mobility. Is able to pull it out. But then Enter comes in JoJo and Aloya, like we were saying, just absolutely kind of carrying the MKoi team through this win here to allow them to at least move on. And this is the low matches as well, so they had to win. Whoever loses does go home. And I have to say, Koi have been kind of put in this position before and have faltered when they were at MSI. This time, though, they pick it up and they're able to get that win to extend their life to at least one more game.
Yeah, Oyoya's really been impressing me on all the champs he plays. He's doing really good. You see insane plays from him on Jarvan, the Kiana here. I've heard a lot of jokes about him being the king of the jungle, and then he plays Kiana, who canonically fits with that so well. Sure. And JoJo, big fan, man. He's a beast. Great pick here in this game. Really was able to shut down the Renekton.
Yeah. He played the Neferi as well in the second one. So when he's playing these hyper-aggressive, kind of assassin-y type junglers, it's allowing his team to kind of really push forward. You pair that up with JoJo, both of them just going in, because that Ahri, of course, has looked really good this whole year for JoJo. Pulls it out here, also looks really good. And this is a really big win for them. Of course, now we can say that NA is helping carrying EU a little bit, though, so we at least have a little bit of bragging rights.
I do think it's nice, though, especially from the EU perspective of, you actually see two of your teams not just getting immediately bounced. It looked pretty bleak when we were talking about at the beginning. The first elimination matchup is pure EU, and then now you actually have a chance where you get another EU team to slide into that coveted stage.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Koi, though. I mean, dropping game 1 to this TSW does not offer things up as being very hopeful when you're coming into a potential CFO matchup, but they can make it happen.
Speaking of kind of scary stuff, we're going to talk about today's games for BLG and T1 that happened this morning. And despite the scoreline of being 2-0, they're actually pretty close on both ends. Yeah. First, BLG versus VKS. VKS pretty much opened, or actually, I'm going to not saying that. We had BLG open it up with probably one of the worst tower dives of this year, or maybe possibly of all time.
Yeah, genuinely, maybe of all time.
I don't know how you do it. And again, this is a game with Shadow, who are expecting to do better on these, just completely falters here.
And VKS immediately does it right back, gives them two kills.
Oh, that's true.
It was just one of those, the first 10 minutes of the game were so questionable. And the worst part is, going in, you have the casters starting off being like, oh, yeah, this is some players' first pro matches on champs in this game. And it's game 1, everything's going to be messy. I don't know. It was weird that you are looking at such a famous team from that region, and then all you're seeing across the bottom of the ticker is oh, cool, Elk hits his 500 kill, 10th player ever to do that in international play. Hey, Ben is now passing Marin on the list of most kills of all time, and then it's and that's the tower dive?
Yeah.
What? You guys have done this for a decade.
Yeah, and it's rough, too, because, the LPL is the tower dive region. They're the teams that perfectly execute their tower dives, but I think usually when I'm seeing LPL tower dives, they're more scripted, 3 players diving the top or diving bot after a certain time. This was a really crazy one where, they've got the Ziggs, but they're putting their Kai'Sa top to get the good matchup, so it's a Kai'Sa and a Trundle trying to make the dive. I'm definitely not making any excuses for this BLG team. They've played disgusting through this whole tournament, and they very disgustingly found their way to a 2-0 win today.
Yeah.
Without Knight, they could have lost the game. I'm not going to say they would have lost the series, but Knight definitely hard carried them through the series too.
It was definitely the Knight in shining armor throughout the whole thing. The Ziggs, the big reason I think they were able to even push through as much as they did was if we were taking a little bit forward, and we'll kind of see it now, but he was able to push 2 towers top just because of utilizing the satchel off of the Zig. So great knowledge from him, gives him a little bit of lead. They're able to kind of control the rest of game 1 going into game 2. But game 2, his LeBlanc was scary.
Dude, you couldn't get near a bush. If you didn't have vision, it would just dude, he one-click deleted multiple champs. And then he just skirts away and he's on the other side of the map. And you're like, oh, wow, it's terrifying.
When a player's playing like that, I feel like it's got to be easier for the coach when it's just I'm just going to get you LeBlanc game 2. Just go crazy. She's one of those characters that once she has those Dark Seal stacks and has that lead, it's just untouchable. Even from behind, LeBlanc can be kind of crazy. You can just turn around with one fight. But Knight started hot too.
The scary thing is in that second game, like even with the LeBlanc deleting players at random, they still won on a backdoor.
Yep.
Like it wasn't like a convincing win. It was like this could go
43
wrong.
minutes.
Yeah.
43-minute game.
It is, them getting caught out. So, of course, Knight and Shadow both dying. And then, unfortunately, I think this is a little bit of lack of experience for VKS, where they then push everyone. They have the teleport come out of the top laner to go into mid to start trying to push. Once Ben sees that, sees all 5 of them there, he's like, well, I'm just going to go bot to that open and hit and just start pushing in with the super minions there. And then Talia's the only one with the teleport because, of course, the backing's not going to be quick enough. She gets, melted by the Rumble, and then they win the game. And that's just, I think the experience coming out of the BLG team that saved them in that one.
Well, I mean, it almost threw it for them beforehand because they took the Baron, and instead of going down and getting on Soul Point, because they definitely did get another dragon, but if they would have got that first dragon, then you at the end are sitting on Soul and Elder. But they didn't do that. That gave VKS an opportunity to come back, and it's like you're literally losing the macro. Like you have a one-hit kill machine, but you're losing the basics.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some definite regrets from VKS looking back at this match later on of like, this was a team, we could have beat this team, and taking a win off the LPL #1 seed is the kind of thing that can like make your career, and it's like a career-defining moment. So
100%.
they had an opportunity, and they weren't really able to collapse on
Not
it.
just taking a win, but eliminating them. Like you're sending them home.
In China.
Yeah,
I mean,
in China,
that's,
yeah.
as well.
that's a dagger.
That would have been a dagger. But speaking about a dagger to our hearts, unfortunately, we did have the 100 Thieves versus T1 matchup today, and we're talking about Bloodbath. This one was on the same lines of maybe 1 or 2 things changed for T1 or for 100 Thieves, and it could have gone their way as well for almost a 2-0 when we were watching these games.
Yeah, game 1 here was incredibly competitive. We got to see a lot of 100 Thieves players really styling and showing their mechanical prowess. Quid on the Silas, Dokla on the Ambessa. It all looked really good. It was literally knocked down, just back and forth, making plays against each other.
Yeah, it was.
Debatably, 100 Thieves better looking than FlyQuest at this event.
Yeah.
Right now, so far, that's 100%. I mean,
Tougher matchups, better performances, but just not
Not a
in
good
the
bracket.
tournament, but-
Not a good bracket. It's also tough, too, because this is a position that T1 has never been in their career. This is their 10th World appearance. This is the first time they've lost 2 times before making it to the bracket.
Yep.
They've never done that in the Swiss stage. And then you also don't look good versus 100 Thieves. Like, not that 100 Thieves didn't look good. You just expect T1 to be better. But like we said earlier, it just feels like Career right now is playing a macro objective game. They're not playing for kills. They're not playing for lanes. And it's like, it's a very disturbing thing. And it kind of looks like their top side's weak. They were kind of getting bullied in this match. And it's also tough because when you think of T1, you think of Martin, you think of Zeus, you think of Impact, you think of these like Titans, and it's like you're kind of getting bullied on the top sides, yeah. And it's like, is this going to be enough to make an actual champs run? I mean, they could light it up, Faker in any team fight. Like when he goes gold in that first game, he literally went from not the most relevant to cool, he won the game.
Oh yeah, that 33-minute mark was fucking. It's just crazy. I mean, I do have to commend them, though. I do think that the drafting looked a lot better going into this match. That's one thing I've been hypercritical about.
100 Thieves or T1?
Sorry, T1.
I agree.
Although I do think
I do like both.
Thieves,
But honestly, both teams drafted pretty good this whole series. But the game 2 draft looked just absolutely insane for them. What was their first 3? It was like Jarvan, Ori, Galio. And then Galio into the Rumble.
Right.
It's like just such a great start.
And you obviously we're talking about styling, and Quid was styling on that Akali the whole entire game. But this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. When you get that Orianna, she lived for so long off of many of these fights. I mean, this one's a good example. He's just running away. Seraph's Embrace gets popped there, then he shields himself, and then next thing you know, Rod of Ages, super tanky. They get the kill there. And of course, I do like this much better for Gumayushi being on the Xayah, because at least you have one ability to kind of keep you alive. Because he's just not had much help this whole entire world so far, and he's been doing the best he can. He looked really good today with Owner, both of them kind of stepping up to get them that win. But I think against better teams, if he doesn't get any help in that backline, they're gonna end up falling a bit.
This game 2, I think, was definitely a little less competitive. Scoreline's still very close, but I felt like by this point in the game, 100 Thieves was just so pressured by those Drakes, the Infernals being stacked up, that they were just taking bad fight after bad fight. The early in the game, though, I'd really want a big shout out to Quid on this Akali. He was making some insane plays. This insane play in the same area where we just saw that current one, where the Galio fails his flash over the wall, but then ults out and Quid follows him with the Shuriken, was just insane play.
Dokla followed up on the second one. It was a great overall series by them. I mean, I think 100 Thieves are definitely, the bowing out, they don't feel good, but I think they can look back with their heads held high with how they at least performed, going from 8th place in the LTA North to coming into the Worlds here.
I mean, I think Quid might have LCK, LPL offers after this. This is a great way to end their season playing against one of the best teams in the world. He's got completely open contract. I think this what he chooses to do will really tell us, does he want to play in NA or was this just a stepping stone for him?
Right.
I wish him a best of luck wherever he ends up. But
I
think Dokla pretty much solidified his spot on the team next year too with these last few weeks. That whole controversy with him and Bwipo talking about how he didn't have much of a career going for him. Since that moment, he's stepped up and he's been a tremendous player.
He looked clean.
Oh, yes.
I'm curious as well, what are y'all's thoughts on T1 moving forward with Gumayushi and Own in the jungle? It's like, is that enough to let Faker scale late game? Because it feels like they're just playing so passive right now. It feels like there's a lot of teams that could.
I actually kind of feel it's
way.
opposite. I feel like Faker has been doing enough in these games. At least it showed that he's done enough in kind of that early to mid game to allow Gumayushi to come online in the late game. Because unfortunately for Guma, he's playing a lot of these carries that do have to scale up or rampantly get up there, and he hasn't really been able to do much. Maybe it is Owner kind of carrying a little bit more of the early game. That's probably why he got player of the match today. But without Guma there kind of cleaning up everything towards the later game, I don't think they win some of these games.
I think Faker's doing enough. I think he looks really solid against players like this and teams like this, but when he plays against Chovy, he's definitely a little bit lacking. But that's not where I'm expecting him to make it up. Really, I want to see Carrier performing better. This Guma Carrier bot lane is normally both capitalizing on the opportunities that Owner gets for them, but creating it on their own without any need of help. And this has been the worst performance I've seen from Carrier at any Worlds. So I think if he steps it up, they can really take a big win off another top team. Yeah. But right now, they're just going to keep consistently beating them.
I also think we haven't seen the best Doran come out. I actually don't even think we've seen an average Doran
Totally.
yet.
And it's like you feel like you have no front line, and you're asking Carrier to step up, and you also need a front line. And then it's like your front line's getting knocked down, and then how do you protect Gumi at that point? You have to have Faker go stasis and do some miracle play, which he is more than capable of doing, but you have to make it that far.
No, I definitely think he can step up, but if he does or if he doesn't, I think will be the spell of whether or not on how far they can go this year. So
who's their next matchup?
Koi.
Perfect.
Yep.
It's another good one.
It's another good one for them.
I saw a thing today that's talking about T1. They're gonna have, if they beat Koi, they will have made the knockout stage only playing Gen G as the other Eastern team that they've played.
Correct.
Kinda
and
crazy.
not beating any of them.
Yeah.
And then
not beating any of
the
them.
only thing though is I think luckily for them is if they do win tomorrow, their matchups are most likely, I think they do have to get drawed against a 3-0 team, which means that gives them a little bit of a better chance because they end up avoiding Gen G in a route like in a quarterfinal stage. So you never know at this point what could happen.
Also, I'm going to be real. When you're thinking about that, it's like, I think if T1 goes up against like BLG or CFO or one of those, like T1 probably could move on. And it's like, I would argue that weirdly T1 had a harder time because they had to face 100 Thieves. It is probably better than a CFO right now, better than a BLG right now, which is a crazy statement. But like, it's weirdly, I don't know, it's weird that it's kind of in their favor, but it's also kind of not.
Yeah, it's all kind of in our favor. I think everybody wants to play T1. You get all the viewers.
That's
you get
true.
to say that you
That's
played
true.
against
This is
Faker.
I think third most viewed match of Worlds was this one this morning between T1 and 100 Thieves.
Great timing, man. 7 a.m.
Right?
Final high.
Reasonable for us.
Yeah. But we talked about the T1 versus Koi. The other ones that we're looking at, of course, is another interregional matchup, BLG versus TS, which means one LPL team is not going to make it to that knockout stage. But then the big one here that I want to get everyone's thoughts on is FlyQuest versus CFO, because personally, I think this is going to be really hard for FlyQuest, but is a little bit better than maybe pulling like TES, though.
Me personally, I think it's the hardest team we could have gotten because we couldn't get T1. I think it's our hardest match.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when I look at the current state of the LPL teams, I don't think they look good. Now, does that mean they'll show up tomorrow? We don't know. But like what we've previously seen out of them, I think CFO is probably the hardest match they could have pulled based on current performance. Now, if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said CFO is who we want to play, but it's different given the current day.
I actually kind of like this CFO matchup because CFO, I think, is a consistent team. They play at fairly similar level in all their games. So I think FlyQuest has a clear target of what they can prep for. Whereas if you end up playing against the top esports in a BLG and you prep for their bad form, but then that's just the one game where they're unlocked and playing like they normally do and they just roll over you, then you're just completely blown out of the water. So I think if they can figure out some way to get into the game, Bwipo maybe picks apart the rest and driver top lane combo, somehow comes up with something they can't handle and gets them a big lead. There's potential here.
That's where I think the potential is. If Boipo can take over top lane and get CFO debating which top laner to play in the game, I think FlyQuest can have a win. But if CFO comes out and just wins the first game, I think it'll be kind of cooked.
Well, I think you also got to figure that CFO right now has got to feel gutted. You were basically going to be the first team to progress, and then now you might be the last team to get eliminated.
Then you pulled AL on the unlucky unlucky draw there.
Those teams we haven't seen them in so long. They're magic.
Oh, you just forgot about it.
KT and AL, they don't exist.
And that's the thing I was going to say earlier, too, about like a matchup for people like T1 if they advance. Like if you get matched up against AL or you get matched up against KT in the knockout phase, they haven't played in so long. Like who knows, their form could have dropped and they could lose the fire that they had going straight to 3-0.
Yeah, the only thing is that when I think about those matches compared to others, if T1 moves on, is that they have at least beat these teams before.
Yeah.
MSI, T1 took a win over AL, and then of course in just the regular matches.
Once we get into the quarterfinals, I think all is even. It does not matter.
Well, luckily, the best
where
of
you
fives
made
at
it
that
out.
point as well. So that a lot of it comes from drafting.
I think Fearless will be a big factor
yeah.
at that point too, just because like the draft is going to be so impactful then. And it's like when we're talking about FlyQuest, when we saw what we saw with them at the G2 matchup, it's like they almost like kind of shelled back and were waiting. And it's like you would factor that maybe an LPL team would be better to like survive the dive comp if you're patient. But CFO, it's like they're a little bit more up tempo. Like they're a little bit more of like, hey, we should fight out in the open. We don't want to fight you under tower. Like we want to fight at objective. So like it'll be a good match. I think it's a test of if FlyQuest is able to do it, then I think it's a really uplifting feeling for the NA region. If they're not able to do it, well, it's what everybody said it was.
Back to drawing board at that point. But we're gonna go ahead and see. We have less than 12 hours at this point until the CFO and FlyQuest. I know I'll be watching it. Luckily, it's not too bad. 1 o'clock, I can do it because it's the weekend.
Exactly.
I don't know about the other ones.
Ideal through the week.
Oh yeah.
Today I will be watching
Today is
that
good. The other ones I may have to take a rest because I don't know if I want to stay up to watch TS versus BLG.
Take a nap
at 4 a.m.
today. It would be good.
Take a rest with your driver.
Yeah, take a rest with your driver.
Yeah. But we'll move on. So each one of us has brought something to the table today to talk about that's happening in the league sphere. We'll let Justin kick it off.
Yep, I am always first on the feed. That's because I'm the hungriest at the desk. I've got an update for everybody from Los Ratones. They just put out this huge announcement, Cadril, talking about stuff. Basically, I just lost my brain for a second. The LEC official news came out that was leaked before about them competing in the winter split with them. Cadril wanted to address it, let everybody know what was going on. Gave an update too that kind of like in this offseason and throughout this year, they've been talking with tier 1 teams and regions all across the world trying to figure out some way to get into the top leagues and stuff, but nothing really actually worked out for them. It didn't make sense to merge with an org or do anything like that. So he actually says in this video that if they had not come to this thing and got into the LEC in this position, that this probably would have been the end of Los Ratones. They would have just called it quits at the end of the first year. But they've got this opportunity. They're excited to potentially compete, maybe make it all the way to first stand, see what happens. Another interesting part of this was Baus talking, not in this video, but in a different one, in his own stream, was actually expressing some frustrations and hesitancy on continuing to play because it's getting more serious and he just wants to play his style of champs and stuff. So seems to be sowing some seeds of a potential split and return back to streaming in the future.
That kind of reminds me of what happened with, near airport at the end. They were along the lines also of saying we want it to be, it's kind of more casual. Someone wanted to be more, serious, and it just didn't mix, so they kind of let go. But I mean, I think for the rest of them though, even if Baus doesn't end up splitting off, they have to find one more because I believe they have to retain at least 3 players in order to still compete in the LEC versus next year. But
I'm guessing he stays for that for sure.
I would hope so.
And are they only guaranteed in the winter split currently?
Correct.
Because they lost to AC?
It's only for the Winter Cup. There's no
correct.
EMEA Masters. EMEA teams don't get in for spring or summer or anything. It's only winter.
Okay.
So winter will be, we'll talk about this a little bit later as well, but the winter, which is now versus, will be 12 teams, which are the 11th and 12th will be the Los Ratones because of how well they did in EMEA Masters throughout the year, being the best performing team, and then whoever wins later between those Heretics and K-Corp. Yep.
I think it's exciting, but I think they should, to your point on like it's getting too serious, it's getting too hard. It almost feels like we need like a show match league. And then that's where you could bring back in like a Meteos, a Sneaky, a Dyrus, like some of the old heads to come in and like just do things for fun, like pick champs for fun, because it's like those guys want to enjoy it, and they're still insanely talented players. But then that's different than trying to be a professional and play constant week in and week out LEC talent.
I also think there's definitely just an element to the entertainer of Baus, and he's just creating drama. Like, I mean, he definitely still is 100% allowed to play his style, and he seriously does in most games. And it's Crowny freaking picking up the slack and carrying them. So I think he'll stick it out. I think he's just sowing seeds, expressing some frustration, letting people know it's difficult.
Jumping over to me now, I think. Yeah. We got, is this pro play? This is a question for everybody. Is this pro play or is this Emerald NA solo queue? If you take away the nameplates, I think it's pretty close. It's up for debate. But I know a lot of people don't get me wrong. Doggo's been insane this whole tournament. He's a great ADC. But this is just absolute greed at its finest from Doran coming out right here when he gets solo killed. And like I said, people were kind of glazing Doggo for this solo kill. But like, Doran, what the heck are you doing? You cannot die like that. Like, just don't go for the caster, bro.
Yeah.
Just recall.
It's rough. I think if this is almost any other character than a Draven, getting the first kill like this, cashing in early on in the game, it's totally fine. But when you get the lane swap into you, bro, just yield those minions. Take the XP. It's not that serious. I mean, it is a little bit of tech there from Doggo popping the W to get the attack speed to get that last one in time.
Move aside to knock him out of the tunnel. It's definitely really good. I mean, I chalk it down to also just, it is a weird lane swap meta that's been kind of like half introduced into here. And when has Doran ever been solo against a Draven? He doesn't know it. Doggo probably knows that matchup, or at least a little bit better because you're playing consistently against,
I mean, all his matchup is doing too is just auto attacking Rek'Sai under tower.
I mean, I would have put today's instead. I know it's a little late from when that post was probably made, but if we're talking about pro player Emerald play, I would have put the BLG one ahead of it.
100%. Yeah, but you couldn't say Emerald up there. That's silver.
BLG looked rough. Yeah,
you got to put Emerald for this one because, like J-Dog said, there was some mechanics in there from Doggo.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we'll have to see. I wish there was like a poll underneath of it to see how people voted, so it would have been pretty funny. Yeah. You haven't seen the Worlds.
We'll take it out in public. Yeah. Put the play on your phone and just show random people on the street.
100%.
You let us know in the comments below whether it was an Emerald play or a pro play. We'll jump over to mine, though, a little bit. So there's been, of course, a lot of the debates going on, but Azel definitely said that with the GOAT on the West right now, there's been a lot of talks about who is the GOAT. He's saying that it's Caps. It's only reserved for the best player in current form, no accolades. And even though Inspired is currently the best player, Caps is the best, or is the GOAT of the Western scene. And I absolutely agree with this. What also led this was the fact that, and this is where I want to get everyone's thoughts, was LS then came in and said that, well, we should be splitting GOATs into roles as well, possibly. So maybe we see Inspired as the Western jungle GOAT. I don't like it. I think there's one GOAT usually per region, much like in regular sports. Messi's the GOAT. LeBron's the GOAT. Yeah,
I think it's tough to me when you think about even from a region POV or a role POV. It's like when you look at that, would you argue like Caps, Inspired, and those versus like Bjergsen or like players that were really good 5-6 years ago? And it's like, because if you're talking about GOAT, you're talking about ever. Like you're not just talking about current. And it's like in at least excluding Faker, it's like I feel like you can debate anybody in any region, but like, are you really going to say their Caps is convincingly better over the history of his career over Bjergsen?
I'm not.
Exactly. It's like it's just a debate.
I probably would.
I'm not. Definitely.
This is why we're split here.
I think it's like Inspired
debate.
Yeah, well, and Inspired definitely doesn't need to be, honestly, even in the conversation for like I think the jungle GOAT. Like I mean, he really hasn't won that much. He's an insanely good player, but there's lots of insanely good players. Got to make it far at an international
tournament. That's the biggest thing for me.
You got to not lose to 100 Thieves last year to make it to World.
Well, if we're thinking about that, then Caps is definitely, because Caps has made it much further in any
MSI champion, World finalist.
Yeah,
that is
over Bjergsen. Yeah, Bjergsen was great, definitely.
I would put Double Lift up there over. I'm putting Double Lift over Inspired, and listen. There is lots of footage of me being critical of the things Double Lift says, but incredible domestic player, has won things internationally. I mean, I think I
agree with that one.
I'll put him up there. But Inspired has so much potential to get there, but he's not the GOAT right now. And as far as having a GOAT for every role, yeah, you could, but like, you're just getting a
cherry
little bit
picking
too
at that
nerdy.
point.
I think
Yeah,
it's just,
you're
it's
cherry
just-
picking
when
at
you
that
get that deep, you're just being a little too nerdy about it, which is okay. I mean, that's what LS does. That's his brand.
That's true.
And like, yeah, you could make a 2-hour YouTube video discussing the GOATs of every role for every region, but I got other things to do.
I think the one thing that can be unanimously is that Faker is the GOAT, regardless of all time. So we'll just end it at that one, and we'll move on.
It's an interesting discussion trying to power rank League players.
100%. So my feed, real quick, is Unicorns of Love did fall inside of this European qualifier, so we will not get to see them in that tournament, which is sad. But they they kind of made their comeback this year, and dude, it has been an incredible year for what is, all intents and purposes, a very old org. And it's like, when I think about the things they were able to do nearly a decade ago, and then that gives you a lot of hope for what they're going to be able to do moving forward. Because this feels like, unlike Los Ratones and what those guys are doing, this feels like an actual org trying to be professional and trying to actually cultivate professional talent, not insanely talented people having fun. They were able to use the Malice facility, which is super cool. And Romain of G2 originally kind of got famous from the Unicorns Love back in the day. So it is cool seeing like one of the old traditional staples come back.
I was sad when they lost. We lost Sexy Edition out of the EMEA Masters. I mean, but you're talking about, this is a team I definitely remember from back in the LAC as well when they made their run. And this was one of the teams that made, like as you said, they made the shows coming out. Of course, now G2's having theirs when he comes out and like his, full body paint and everything. But that's what was happening on Unicorns a little back then. It was great branding for them. They actually, had fairly decent results at sometimes. But it's cool to see them coming back as well. Kind of that nostalgia hit.
It's also like the flair. It's like, it's fun to watch. It's like, when I think of the LEC right now, it's just kind of like boring and drab. And like, I do think 100 Thieves probably in NA. FlyQuest does a really good job with their branding too. But it's like, other than that, it's like, it just feels a little soulless at times. Whereas like Unicorns Love, like, they're just always fun. Like, even now, their graphics, their posts, all of it, like, dude, it's a fun time.
Yeah, I also hope it doesn't only stay for now. Like, I hope things stick out for them, because we don't know what the future is going to look like for these EU minor regions and stuff. There's been big downtrend in their viewership and all these things. I think Unicorns of Love is a great brand, so whenever it conglomerates into one entity again or does whatever they want to do, I think there's a lot of potential for some of the bigger funded orgs to maybe team up with them and keep that branding alive and keep the fan base going.
Yeah, I'd like to see them again next year, if possible, hopefully, because unfortunately, as we talked about last time, we saw channel mates have to bow out because of stuff, but right now it seems like, kind of making it here. Hopefully they'll do it they keep the incentive of maybe the versus thing going. Of course, that's made waves in Europe with allowing two of the tier 2 teams into the LEC for the first season. We'll have to see how that goes, but that's good incentive for them.
It does feel like right now Europe is like growing this like crazy underbelly of fandom though. Like Carmine Corp's like Le Bleu fan club is like insane. You got Los Ratones, which has insane followings. It just feels like Europe is just so good at cultivating that. So I really do hope they continue to do something to like let the fans build something up.
Yeah. But speaking of K-Court Blue, we're gonna go ahead and move on to some of our big stories. They take down Los Ratones in EMEA Masters to move on to the Grand Finals. And this will be the first Grand Finals that Los Ratones are actually missing this year for the EMEA Masters. So big ups to them. And of course, as you said, even though we don't have Los Ratones in there, we have this massive fan base coming out of K-Court Blue. And it's possible that if they win, they can actually fight against their main team going into LEC Versus next year.
Yeah, this was Los Ratones' first best-of-5 loss all year round. I think Carmine Corp looked very good. I mean, it wasn't even like the Ratones were playing particularly bad. K-Corp just looked really solid. And it is interesting, the potential, if they were to beat Los Heretics, get this spot, and then you have K-Corp Blue versus K-Corp Main, I don't even know if they have just talked about the potential ramifications
Winner
of that
gets
and
the slot or
competitive integrity or anything. I mean, K-Corp could intentionally lose to their amateur team to push their amateur team ahead of bottom LEC teams. I don't even know. It's wild.
Not only that, but if I'm the jungler there going against the starting jungler, it's like, dude, I'll win. This is my role, guys. Let me show out.
That's a big thing, though. What was that again? That was an NA jungler. Yukino is an NA USA jungler that's over playing for K-Corp Blue, doing a really good job. We'll have to see how that affects coming in there, because essentially he at least has a spot in kind of a tier 1 going into early next year. So does that make any changes? Because we've talked about kind of the lack of jungle presence for NA, and then a lot of changes are coming into LCS. can that make a change? We'll wait to be seen going forward, but it is.
And their
cool.
spot's not guaranteed.
Yep.
They still have to beat the Heretics. And then
That is
also,
very true.
your spot isn't guaranteed too. I mean, they could replace their mid laner. Like, it's the Wild West. There's a long off season in between now and then.
Yep.
And if I get that spot and I'm a team manager, I'm looking to get 2 better players. I mean, I don't know. It's a whole question of get rid of the team chemistry for better players objectively. I think if you're K-Corp Blue, you probably need better players to compete with the LEC teams. Yep. I don't think K-Corp, Heretics, or Los Ratones really has a solid shot of beating some of these top LEC teams.
You also get into the weeds of like, is it worth it to try to get young upcoming talent on a contract that you could sell? Like, let me make a player show out. I could sell them to an LEC team that could fund your org. Obviously, K-Corp doesn't need to, but like, it's one of those where it's like that's just a different question. It also makes, I don't know, you're talking about American players play there. It's like in the U.S., like it feels like right now you're kind of going through the collegiate path, like Maryville and others, and like that's where we saw Yuji come from. But it's like, I don't know, it just feels like a weird kind of dynamic of like, this is how the European players are coming up, and now Americans are going there, and it's like, how are we cultivating American talent? Like, why are they going there to play?
Oh, the money, as you said, a better shot, and K-Corp Blue has actually given him a chance over some of the
100%.
Tier 2 teams here, which, of course, is a whole different story that I'll probably end up bringing on one of our later episodes.
And
queued up
trains.
towards
They've got
the
trains
end.
in Europe.
It's also very true.
Yeah, it's for sure the train.
Oh, yeah. Because
Again, consider that.
I guess, what was it? SK is going to be worrying about that a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
That trip to Berlin is going to be rough.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and switch back to Worlds a little bit. From 0 to hero, or maybe cursed winning, is J4 has gone from 0-9 to 6-9 at this point. But as well as a couple, I believe 3 of his wins, though, were from teams that actually just got eliminated. So he is winning. He's finally winning, but it may be a little bit cursed still at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, Eli called it last week that it was a statistical anomaly, and he was proven correct. The J4 has looked really solid since then. We've seen, honestly, some good performances even in his losses that were leading into these wins. So
It was also weird just to see him at 0-9. Like, he was one of the most played junglers. He's a really strong jungler, good for team fights and good for locking people down. So to see him at 0-9, it was kind of like a weird thing. Like, what? Jarvan? He's one of the best junglers right now. How has he not won a game?
And all of the characters he pairs with are really good right now. Yeah. Orianna, Rumble, so many things to get the soup going and cook everybody up.
It also felt like good bait. It's one of those things of like everybody's like, oh yeah, this is going to be an easy one. If I get J4, I'm going to feel good. But then it's like you just counterpick against it. But I do think his kit's so strong. Like, there's no way you're going to deny him. I'm just glad he didn't end up at 6-7, and we had to see a bunch of memes about it.
That is true. I was just imagine if he would have went 0-10 when we had 2 champs this year at international events versus the Callista, and then the J4 going 0-10. That would have been, this would have been weird. Something that would have been behind the scenes cooking up.
Callista one I'm good with, not J4. We can't tarnish him.
This does also bring J4 back closer to the rest of the pack in terms of lowest win rate. So everybody's pick'em section for that bit is not as cooked as we thought it was. I actually I got no clue who I even picked for lowest win rate champion.
I picked Pantheon. I know that.
Pantheon. I think I might have done Yorick. No, that's Cadril. Cadril was.
I'm about to look and see who's the current lowest win rate. Actually,
my biggest thing is with the ending of the Switch stage. I do think the Teemo Hope is just about gone. If there's any,
maybe we can get BLG to pick it tomorrow versus Koi.
First game,
maybe.
Hey, it might help them. I don't know. They look questionable.
Yeah.
I mean, AL's still in the tournament. Flandre's still there.
Sure.
Yeah, but like, when can you throw away a match? Because you're planning to throw that
Game 5.
I believe in the honor of the
fearless.
scout code. That's all I know here. But moving on, going back a little bit to
Europe. Results. Davis got the result.
Pantheon's leading right now. 7 games played, 14% win rate.
What was the Pantheon we had today? Was it River? I thought River's Pantheon was so mad in that game number 2. Wasn't all around.
I just remember
got
one steal.
In the wee hours of the morning, I was half asleep, being like,
it's also the volume of
Seth
games
could play
about
better
to go down. Well, the volume of ability for champs to get played. Just because it's a BO5 with Fearless, so it's like, you're going to get one.
Yeah.
There's like 11 chances more. Really.
Right.
Nautilus is also right on his tail. He's got a 24% win rate with 5 games.
Not look good right now. Yeah.
And then the gap's pretty big, actually. Kasante is the next one, but he's got 16 games played, so he's the one that has like the most games. But
that doesn't make any mathematical sense. In 5 games, you have 1 win and you're 24%.
Do what?
24% win rate.
What did I say?
Take it up with the nerds.
I might have misspoke. He has 16 games played, 25% win rate.
Okay. 16 games played.
I heard that.
Okay.
Too many numbers. I lost track.
Next.
Yep, back over to Europe. LEC has announced their format for next year, and it's looking a lot better, at least in my opinion. So as we were saying, the winner split is now the versus split, the EMEA versus championship or something like that.
Terrible name. I hate it.
Yeah, well,
Still better than
at least the format is better. So this is, we're getting the changes. We get the now 10 team or 12 teams instead of 10 with the two EMEA master teams moving up. So it will be a best of one for the first round robin, and then when we get to the top 6 going into best of 3, how are we looking at that as the beginning for first split for LEC?
I don't mind it for first split because I think the first split is kind of everybody's trying to feel things out. You don't want a ton of games, in my opinion, as a viewer. You don't want to watch best of 3s at the very beginning of the year because they don't mean anything when it comes to Worlds. So I think best of 1s for the first little bit, and then once you get to playoffs, allow them to play some series. I think it's a good change.
Yeah, I like it.
Here we go. A little bit more of the information.
LEC versus.
Yeah. And then, so, sorry, it was top 8, but moving into the next part. So they're actually making it a little bit easier for us. We know that this has been something that Eli has hated. So LEC listened to his cries, and they made the spring split and summer split exactly the same. So we're going into spring split, summer split, back down to 10 teams. Of course, just those teams that are within the LEC contracted. They start off the regular season, single round robin, best of 3. Top 6 will make playoffs from there. And then playoffs is double elimination, best of 5. Of course, top 2 go to MSI and EWC. And then, of course, for Worlds, top 3 will go. But it has knocked up, someone did the math, not me, because I didn't have time for that. But supposedly there are 308 games actually played this year for LEC. It's actually being bumped up to a minimum of 226 for next year, or sorry, 326 for next year, and then a maximum of 426. So a lot more games is something that I know a lot of people have been asking for in LEC. They're finally getting it. It looks like a pretty good splits to me there.
I do think the BO1 format, like, it makes for exciting records, but like, just because like introducing Fearless has made the game feel so different, but in a BO1, it's obviously literally useless. So it just feels like, I don't know, maybe on a weekly basis, they should do something where it's like the days are Fearless or something along those lines, just so we get a variety of champs. Because like these BO1s, like if a champ is OP, like we're going to literally see the same matchups 5 times a day, every day.
Yeah.
I think it's fine for the first split, though. I mean, to be honest, leading into first 10, not many people like care about those games or those matches. I'm glad they switched it to best of 3 for spring and summer for sure, but I think first split, whatever, best of 1s.
Yeah, kind of similar to, because LPL, I believe actually, I can't remember if they shoot like 14 teams or 12 at the very beginning. All I know is that they would, cut them off depending on their records going into each split. A couple would fall off. But remember, this is shooting up to 12 teams, which is why I believe they are shooting for that best of 1. Yep. I believe if they had the 10, it probably would just been like a straight year of, best of 3s, best of 5s for the team. But since it is that single round robin of 12 teams, they're probably trying to cut down on time a little bit. Because I believe, as much as we know with NA, I think they share their studio in Berlin with Valorant as well. So maybe time constraints a little bit are pushing up there. But
It's also the tech pauses.
yeah. Oh, that's very true.
Gotta
Even though it's supposedly fixed.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
They do have road shows, though. So big thing is road shows are coming back. We don't know where to just yet. That was something I absolutely loved this year outside of the tech pause issues that they had at the venues. But it's something that, I think is really good for the scene. We saw a lot of the fandoms coming for, depending on where they are, it was Spain, Koi, France, you had K-Corp showing up.
That's the staple for European League of Legends for me, and that, in my opinion, is like what we have. We don't have great players, but we have awesome live events and some of the best crowds in the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, they do the coolest sets, like the Spirit Blossom sets, and like even the LEC final sets. Like those were literally better than VCT Worlds, and it's like these were like to see that on the road is gonna be sick.
Yeah. And so if though we have to choose where they're going this year, who would want to see? Because we had, so it was Koi as well as Carmine Corp who had it this year. Where do we think it's going for next year?
I mean, I feel like you got to keep one in Germany with G2, then maybe like Fnatic in the UK?
Yeah, do the UK for Fnatic.
Yeah.
That would be some crazy teasers.
UK is going to call London or something. I also, maybe somewhere in Turkey. Turkey's got a lot of
Crazy
league
fans.
fans,
Yeah.
and it's also like Germany. They're always in Germany, so it doesn't even it doesn't feel like a
Right.
road
It's not
show.
a show.
Yeah.
You go to
That's a good
Budapest.
shout. I think Turkey would be sick.
What do you think, Chris?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping.
You
for
got the
Fnatic as
you
well.
posed the question.
Yeah.
I need to hear an answer.
So I was kind of hoping for Fnatic as well, and then also
you want the London one?
yeah, London
Okay,
one.
got it.
I
Do it in
think
Manchester.
that'd be fun. We know why he
United
wants to
or,
go.
like-
Do it on the blue
If
side.
you're gonna do it, make sure that it's during the time that Manchester City's playing, so he can go out and see both.
They can.
That
He
time.
would be disappointed
They should do
twice.
it in the London subway.
I was kind of hoping maybe something as well in Spain again, but this time Heretics instead of Koi as the hosting. So
There's also
That'd
some
be
cool
cool.
neutral spots. Like, I mean, Malta's got a really big studio that they're currently using. Lisbon also has some really cool locations as well. The problem is, like, I think the teams are like really centralized into like 3 pockets.
Be fun to like curveball it too. Do like New York. Just leave Europe, Charlotte.
how like NFL goes over to London, you send the LEC
yeah.
team over to the.
It would honestly probably
United
sell a
States.
lot. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd
be
be
interesting. I don't know if it really. The LEC fans would probably feel betrayed, but
Yeah.
Very true.
You just got to make sure there's got one American player on there. We're good. Call it a
Yeah,
day.
Jojo.
Jojo,
Make
there you
sure Corey gets sent
Bring him
over.
back home.
No, I'm just kidding. I want him back over here going into next year. That's a whole different conversation. But we do have our pick'ems to look over as we are heading into the final round of Swiss stage. We have some winners and losers on the pages, so we'll get that thrown up because I think everyone's bracket has kind of been thrown into the chaos at some point here.
Yeah,
Look
so
at that.
if we look at the far right, I
Nope.
think right now J-Dog has got 55. Him, Andy, and Nick are all tied amongst the top, and then Kepley and Clover are tied at the bottom. I do think everyone has T1, so like everyone is guaranteed 10 more points if they get that. But nobody's going to gain or lose off that. We do have a bunch of matchups, though, where it's CFO versus FlyQuest, which are obviously
I'm
playing
kinda
each
picked
other.
on that one.
I have BLG top and those two FlyQuest CFO.
So I mean, you're getting 20 no matter what. Look at it that way.
yeah, true. That is true.
You're just not getting any more.
I have T1 hopefully too.
yeah, I think Andy is objectively in the best position of these 55s because he's still got room to get CFO in his if they make it out. I've already lost out on my third green boy there because I thought AL would be in the 3 and 2 position. I'm realizing that as long as they make it out, as long as you pick the right team in the number 3, then you're good. But and a lot of people are very close.
A lot of
actually
people are going to
switched
get a
with Andy.
FlyQuest boost or
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm kind of switched with Andy there because I have FlyQuest in the 3-2 position, so I might be able to get a green boy here.
Totally.
Because BLG, of course, that's chalked on that one.
Yeah, but you're also a 40-point little baby, so you're not even really in the discussion.
he's taking the Seth.
Just
title
wait till that
World
crystal
Cup.
ball hits.
Yeah. Actually, we really don't know how the points scale against each other, so the crystal ball could be more
The
important.
crystal
than
ball has a lot of points.
I
was just
actually,
looking
the
at
way
It's
it
actually
usually
insane.
works too is that this is only for Swiss stage, so like we still have our whole knockout stage bracket, and that's usually big points if you get those right.
100%.
And it's also one of those where it's like, if a Teemo hits, then I think Chris is probably the only one. But it's one of those that might be
I need
mass.
the
That
Teemo.
could be shifting.
Chris is gonna start sending bribes out to the Chinese players trying to get them to
I'm going
pick
to
it.
start messaging.
I don't know
Andre.
if this is directly translating to those points, but apparently 50 points for first, if you get the potential points for Crystal Ball, like if you picked Alistar, which I have Alistar, for the most played champion, if he's the first played champion, you get 50 points.
That's
Yeah, but-
insane. That's like your whole groups. Your whole
Yeah, that's literally, that would put me
Right,
in, that would almost put me in first right now.
To be fair, I
don't
feel like
think
that should.
there's no way it's
that kind
20.
of should be how it is, though. Like it's harder to get that right than
That is
to
true.
get any of these Swiss stage ones
Yeah.
right.
That's what
But also the points are going to scale massively for the bracket piece. So
150 plus champions that you're trying to choose from. Don't know how the world's meta is going to change by the time that does get closed. It's all for fun. I mean, that's why I picked the
No,
Teemo
this
on
is
it.
for
Yeah, knockout stage.
real
Knockout
bragging
stage
rights.
is
This
the
is
real.
bragging
For
rights.
me, knockout stage is the real. That's where I'm going to put my time into looking into this.
Listen,
for
if
you.
I win the fantasy league and the pick'ems, I
Your
might just
ultimate
I
ball
might just
knowledge,
leave
bro.
you guys.
Yeah.
I might just I'm going to the LCS.
Yeah,
Like,
you're ready for the dive.
Yeah. I'm taking my talents to South Beach.
I mean,
they just put you on Rotonis next. Like you just get called up.
yeah, that's true. I mean, where are we going to make Kepley do, though, going into next year? Because if he fails like this again, and
Well, the good news
That's
is
the reason he hasn't been on the show is because he performed so badly in fantasy, and he's
good
done
news-
Doesn't want to show his face.
the good news is I think
we don't
both
allow him.
Him and Mark is while technically they don't have a lot of points, they have a lot that'll be cashed in because of guaranteed matchups. But I do think that there's a couple. The people who can still lose, I think 60% of the field right now can still be in last. Pretty much only the 55s are safe.
We didn't really go through the list, but there are some hilariously bad predictions.
Hey,
Tanner
Tanner
and Seth.
still can win
I saw a
this.
Vivo Keystar, and Mark Plover had Team Secret Whales
Yeah.
on there, man.
Yeah,
Team
see,
Secret
Tanner,
Whales, Poe.
Tanner still has
Maybe
a
just like the
reasonable
name.
chance because he can.
Dylan's got Fnatic on there. He's
Hey,
just as dope.
no,
Oh.
my Fnatic pick was solely because I knew everybody would pick FlyQuest, and I was like, if they don't, who could sneak one in? I wish it would have been Koi in hindsight, but it is what it is.
Yikes.
Shame.
We'll have to see.
Ring the bell. Shame.
But it's
Shame.
I think we'll get like I'll get like 2
Tanner's
more.
foul, bro. Tanner got AO right, but this man has
did.
VKS, Fnatic, MKoi advancing.
He got Rollster though. What's crazy is I can't believe that I think he was
did
the
get
only
Rollster.
person that had KT.
Yeah, he does have a roster. That's pretty impressive too.
I actually didn't pick KT because I anticipated everybody would. I also was gonna not do the Gen G just for safety, and I didn't, and clearly that didn't pan out.
Yeah, should have. What did, so they finished what, 3-1?
Yeah.
So close.
Mhm, so
Happens.
But it doesn't matter because
That
we don't
Swiss
got them
stage, bro. You
anyways.
can
Yeah.
get unlucky. You can get lucky with
One more day.
Yeah.
One more.
Very
No,
true.
not one more day. A couple more days, and then we're into the knockout stage.
That is-
I'm
yep.
so excited.
Or you can
Yep.
be FlyQuest.
Well, it ends tonight, then we get the draw
draws.
tomorrow. And then we get the quarterfinals draw tonight as well, I believe, after or tomorrow morning. And then that's going to be the big one to see how that matches up. And then we'll have a whole new graphic there for it. But we will see you again next week. We will be going over the rest of the round 5 and then going into those quarterfinal matches as well. So we're going to bring you all that news and more. We'll see you in the next show.
Boom.